Hi, welcome to Scriptures Unveiled with Ebony and Ivory, and we are in South Africa. Yay! On a safari in the wilderness. And so last time we talked a little bit about the wilderness, so we're going to get more into the wilderness this time.
Yes.
We're at a new location, as you see, and so to recap last time, we went to the Old Testament when Israel was 40 years in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And Mem in the Hebrew means to, it means 40. It means to go downstream. It's a picture of water.
Yeah.
And so as a stream goes into a river that goes into ocean, becomes one, they integrate with each other. Our thoughts will integrate with something. So that's the way our life flows. So there's lies and then there's truth. And so it's kind of like a stream, the way that we go.
Yeah.
And so that's what 40 means in the Hebrew. And the year in Hebrew means shana, which is to repeat or do over again. So it's like the doing over and over and over again, like they did in the wilderness. When they just kind of had to go.
It was a cycle, and that was a cycle of unbelief.
Right.
Yeah.
Where they went over and over.
Yeah.
And Jesus, he spent 40 days in the desert, in the wilderness.
Yes.
And not years, but days. And there is a difference. Jesus did say that he was the day.
Yes.
He mentioned that in the scriptures. And day in the Greek is Hermia, which is an interval period between sunrise and sunset, but it's a contrast from night, meaning Jesus' day. Because he said he was day.
I like that. That's good.
And it also means without intermission, which is like a non-hindrance.
And that's that relationship that is literally unhindered. It's uninterrupted with Christ. That's what he did. And that's what we'll see how he overcame the temptations in the wilderness, where he overcame what the Israelites went around 40 years in just one day, which that day represented himself. And that's how he overcame the wilderness. So we'll be reading from Matthew 4, verses 1 through 11. And I'm going to start off with Matthew 4, verses 1 through 3. And it says, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After he had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, 'If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread.' But Jesus replied, 'It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by the every word that comes from the mouth of God.'" And so, this is good because it says here that Jesus was led, and that word led in Greek means to produce. And the word wilderness in the Greek means desolate, lonely. It means solitary.
Limiting.
Yeah, limiting. Yes. And so it really is an understanding that Jesus would produce in our wilderness. That wilderness is speaking of our condition as mankind. We're lonely. We're separated from God.
It's that identity because we believe a lie about ourselves.
We believe the lie about ourselves, which put us into solitary. It put us into what? Limit, to being limited. And so it says here, Jesus being led, he was going to produce in that wilderness. So he came into our wilderness. And it says he was tempted. And tempted in the Greek terminology means to make proof of. Yes. He himself was our proof. It's not us like necessarily following the steps of Jesus. No, Jesus himself is the proof,
he's the proof
of our existence. Because we reflect him. He had to show us through him.
Yes.
That's the proof. And then it says by the devil. And so devil in the Greek means to be accused. It means accusation. It means to make charges, literally make charges that brings down. And it means slanderer. So all of those accusations that came against us, God would produce, show us ourselves in it.
Right.
So that's what that,
Yes. That's really beautiful. So,
it is.
And then there was 3 temptations that were really pictures of coming against our identity.
Yeah.
And these are the temptations that actually Adam fell for.
Yeah.
But Jesus was tempted the same temptations, but he didn't fall.
Yeah, that's good.
So, the first temptation is, if you say you're the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. right?
Yes.
And that's, I think, verse 3?
Yes, because he was hungry and then after he fasted. Yep.
Yep. So the hungry means to desire earnestly, to be needy, or to suffer want.
Yeah.
So we're reminded in Psalms 23 that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And then in John 6:35, Jesus says, whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty.
Yeah.
So to not be hungry or not to thirst is not to lack.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So the meaning of hunger then is to suffer want.
Yep. Yep.
So.
And he was hungry, and and so then it's like the devil, the accuser, will come in to try to convince, even by him saying, if you are the son, like he is the son, not if. But he came in and he was like, if you are, then tell these stones to become bread, meaning he's tempting him to feed himself through his own works, through his own means. Not through the trust and dependency and union in God, but it's like, when there's a lack or there's a hunger, there's the temptation to fulfill that hunger ourselves.
Right.
That keeps us in that lack.
Yes, and I love that he used stone.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of stony heart.
Yes, that's
You know how we all had stony hearts?
Yes.
So I always see some sort of reflection there.
Yeah, yes.
Tell these stones. Like telling these hearts.
Exactly, to become bread.
Yeah. So the temptation of feeding yourself, it's an outward demonstration or manifestation of us feeding our hunger that comes from the five senses or the outward, outward things.
Yeah.
And so in these things that are outward are always non-sustainable and they're temporal.
They're temporal.
Because the flesh always wants more.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next verse there says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God.
Yes.
So word means rhema. It's a living voice. It's in-birth faith?
Yes, in-birth faith. Yes, it's the persuasion. It's to literally be persuaded by God's love.
Right.
It's not necessarily, let me read the Bible, the word every day to get it in me. No, we're that living word. And when we are persuaded by his love, that word comes alive.
Right.
It's the living voice within us.
Yes, and in the Greek, mouth is stoma, which is in-breathed within us. It's a face-to-face encounter with God, and it's a within.
That's good.
And so this is the overcoming of that temptation.
Yeah.
So that we get from our bread, from Christ, from Jesus, Christ within.
Within.
Yeah, it's nothing we have to maintain, but just kind of just focus on him from within.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's about the first temptation. So it's all about need and him overcoming that lack, that need, that want. So we're going to continue with the second temptations on the next time. So remember to like, subscribe, and to comment.
Thanks for joining us.